Okay, welcome everybody. Welcome to the Journalism Awards 2025. BASW Journalism Awards 2025. I hope you've all got your drinks and your snacks and keep drinking and keep eating, and we're going to have a very nice evening. I'm Ruth Allen, I'm the Chief Executive of BASW, and this is the third year that I've actually hosted these awards, and we are absolutely delighted to have kept going for 3 years, to recognise and honour examples of great journalism and other kinds of writing featuring our profession and the issues that are important to us. And the awards are going from strength to strength. And I know because I was shortlisting and choosing amongst my other colleagues here who are involved with that. And I have to say that this year, the standard of entries was higher. We had more that were really good. And we hope that these awards will bring about some change over time, or help bring about change over time in the way in which social work is portrayed in the press, in broadcast TV, on radio, podcasts, and we've introduced a drama category as well. So why does it all matter? Because social work remains widely misunderstood. Too many people don't understand who we are, what we do, and what we stand for. And social work is essentially about protecting people's rights, promoting well-being, supporting individuals who are struggling with poor mental health, facing oppression, discrimination, poverty, lots and lots of hard but incredibly rewarding work. And we deserve to have it well represented in the press, in the media. We deserve that. We all deserve that. Yeah. So, and we're seeing a world of a lot of divisions and a lot of weirdness. I think we can, there are probably things that we never quite thought we were going to see, both at home and abroad. We're seeing division and scapegoating of vulnerable communities, of different people within our multi-ethnic, multi-everything community, which is what makes us the UK. But we're seeing a lot of division and scapegoating going on. And social workers in that context focus on relationships, connectivity, shared common humanity, and that work has never been more needed. And we deserve to have it well represented. So there's still quite a lot of poor portrayals of social work in the media. Interestingly, I was in a workshop this afternoon, and we were talking about the use of word sectioned, for somebody to be sectioned in mental health. And we were talking about how that's such common parlance. I mean, it's a detail, it's technical, but we know how wrong it is. And we know that we often see a generally negative picture, or they just get things wrong about social work, and this is not okay. It devalues our profession and does a disservice to the people we work with. And it might stop people seeking help and the support they need. And it might add to people's misunderstanding of who we are, what we are, and when we do need to meet with people, or we can provide support, if they've seen a good portrayal of social work or a fair, honest portrayal, that obviously opens the door to starting to build a good relationship. So, we also see, because we see it every day, the far greater unreported good that social workers do, transforming people's lives, and far from some narratives that are very popular in the press, etc., saving lives and enabling people to live the lives they want to live. So the journalists, producers, podcasters, dramatists honoured here today have all taken the trouble to show greater understanding of our profession. Thank you very much. Thank you to all of them. They've created insightful pieces of work with nuance and balance, and for that we give them our thanks and respect. Before we get going with the awards, I just want to say a few quick thank yous. Firstly, as ever, thank you to our judges, who've put in a huge amount of time and effort going through all of the material that we were looking at for longlisting and shortlisting. For the third year running, our judges were David Brindle, the former social affairs editor of The Guardian, John McGowan, General Secretary of the Social Workers Union, Maggie Fogarty, former Social Work Today reporter, and now a very, very experienced journalist, producer, presenter, and who's been an absolute stalwart in promoting these awards. And we're so glad we've got you in our history, and now we've got you in real time, so that's wonderful. Shahid Naqvi, of course, the editor of Professional Social Work magazine, who's coordinated all of this. And Reshma Patel and Mark Lyons, who are experts by experience. They're on BASW Council and our forum, and thank you so much for the work that you did as well. And also thanks to BASW staff, yes. And then also Lisa Urquhart, who's got the clicker this evening, so don't get it wrong, okay? We're getting a big muddle. Stephanie Davis, Anthony Dadwell, who's our press officer, and of course Shahid. And finally, most importantly, a big thank you to all of those who have entered or have nominated someone for these awards. We rely on you to tell us who is doing great work. We want regional stories, so we might not pick it up because it's happening in some part of the UK we haven't noticed it. So please look out for good stories for next year. So this year there are 8 categories being recognised: written journalism in regional and local media, written journalism in national media, broadcast journalism in regional local media, broadcast journalism in national media, trade press, lived experience, which is reports in any media that particularly sensitively features people who use social services directly, podcasts, and drama that features social work. And we will also be presenting a very special award at the end. Our winners come from all over the UK, and some of whom we're very grateful for those of you who've been shortlisted and who are here today. Not everybody could attend, but we're very, very pleased that you've come. And I would say that it was very difficult to make a lot of the decisions. We had a lot of debate. So any of you here who've been shortlisted, you've done a great job, because you wouldn't have been on that shortlist. We know good social work writing when we see it. You wouldn't have been on that shortlist if it wasn't the case. So we want to keep growing the awards, ensure they become even more of a fixture, get the message out in the journalism world that these things are happening and that it's important to a big community of professionals and families up and down the country who want to know that this is happening, that these great representations are being created, and to continue our work in shifting public perceptions about social work. So I will now move on to the awards. So I'll just tell you a bit about how it's going to work. If I know, I think I know. I've done it a few times. So I will call out the title of the award. We will go through the shortlist, and there will be some images or some short films that relate to that particular piece to show you. And then the winner will be announced, and I will be joined by one of the judges on most of those. And they will either be here or here, depending on who's presenting the award. So let's get going. I'm going to take a drink. Wine or water? Wine. Yeah, it's a social work crowd. So the first award is for written journalism in regional and local media. And the finalists are Richard Yule from the Tenby Observer for an article on the use of agency children's social workers being phased out in Carmarthenshire. The second nominee, Charlotte Wright from BBC South East for a powerful piece on where lone asylum-seeking children end up living. And the final shortlisted piece is from Birmingham Live for an in-depth campaign against child poverty in Birmingham. And the winner is Birmingham Live. They, Birmingham Live are not able to attend today, but Shahid will receive the award on their behalf. Just take it. I mean, ceremonially take it. They need to know somebody cared. Okay, so our next award is for written journalism in national media. And the finalists are Jessica Murray from The Guardian for a report on a training scheme aimed at helping social workers working with disabled parents. The second finalist is Rosa Silverman from The Telegraph for an in-depth spotlight on social services in England in the wake of the tragic murder of Sarah Sharif. And the last finalist is Jessica Bradley from The Times for a report on social workers waiting in limbo for fitness to practice hearings. And the award goes to Rosa Silverman from The Telegraph. John. Give it to John. Thank you for being here and taking that yourself. That's wonderful. Excellent piece of work. So the next award is for broadcast reporting in regional and local media. The finalists are Lucy Capassi from ITV Central for a report on how immersive virtual reality technology is being used to train social workers. Very topical.
Immersive virtual reality headsets are being used to train social workers in the Midlands by giving them an insight into the real-life scenarios they could face.
What goes on when a family is referred to a social worker tends to take place behind closed doors. But now there's a new way for those in training to be a fly on the wall.
OK, to the third film. Once you're there, if you just raise your hand.
Using virtual reality goggles so they can watch in a 360-degree format, participants follow a social worker's 11-month engagement with a fictional family, all based on the daily experiences of child protection workers.
So I learned by seeing and doing, so it was really helpful for me to actually see what practice is like through the headset. You get to feel the emotions of the family, but you also process your own emotions yourself. So actually it did really help me to feel what it was like for that family, how to communicate with families, how to make them feel welcome, settled and build up a really strong relationship with them.
Quite sure what you're going into when you walk into a family home, and you're never quite sure how the family are going to react as well. It's enormously stressful, anxiety-provoking to have a social worker knocking on your door, and it's really important that we've got confident social workers who are able to make that connection, be able to talk to the families about some of the difficult stuff that's going on, but also importantly talking to them about what they do really well at.
It's hoped the project and the films will eventually reach social workers across the country, giving more of those starting out a front row seat to the front line. Lucy Capassi, ITV News.
Thank you. So, the next finalist is Tamsin Melville from BBC South West for a spotlight on a project supporting survivors of domestic abuse in Cornwall.
You do deserve the help. The message from one domestic abuse survivor in Cornwall who says a new project has been invaluable for her and her children. Nearly 900 families have been supported since 2022 by experts from a domestic abuse charity who work alongside social workers. Tamsin Melville has been speaking to Hannah, who is speaking out publicly to help others.
The children saw a lot that children shouldn't have to see, to the point where when the relationship broke down, my children started showing tendencies and they needed help in different areas.
Hannah's 17-year marriage ended after years of abuse, but it wasn't just the after effects on her that were incredibly difficult. It was how the children had been affected too.
The children were hurting but I'm a dental nurse. I'm not a therapist, I'm not a children worker, and with them all having different issues, I didn't know how to help them. I wanted to help them, I wanted my children back. So the intervention really helped them all get onto a level and find out and get the help that they all needed individually.
That intervention came in the form of a project that sees domestic abuse experts work alongside social work teams. It was a family domestic abuse support advisor, or DASA, that stepped in to help Hannah and her children.
She helped me by making me feel like I'm not going insane. Abby wasn't just emotional support and help around feeling safe and protecting the house, and she was there for like little things, so it really helped.
There's a DASA in each of 9 teams across Cornwall, and they offer both practical and emotional help in many forms to suit each family's unique needs. Employed by charity First Light and commissioned by the council, there's a focus on stopping the cycle of abuse and acting quickly.
Thank you. And the final finalist is John Wright's Tuesday Takeover, BBC Radio Suffolk, for a programme dedicated to promoting the understanding of disability. We don't actually have the video to show for that, so we have a slide that just, don't know, there's John Wright. But we were able to look at all the material when we were judging it, so there we go. So, and I'm now delighted to announce that the winner is Lucy Capassi from ITV Central. Wonderful, thank you. We are now moving on to national broadcast reporting. The finalists are Carolyn Atkinson's Carolyn Atkinson, Radio 4's File on 4, for a report on a woman held in a mental health facility for 45 years. We will provide all of the information about all the shortlisted award finalists, so people can have a look at the information about each of them, because they're all fantastic. So the second finalist is Daniel Hewitt, ITV News, for an in-depth report on the challenges facing social workers on the front line. Have a sip of wine, talk amongst yourselves. There we go. Oh, and it's an image, so it's not going to move, but there we go. So again, no video for that, but another great piece. And then the third finalist is Tonight with Andrew Marr, LBC Radio, for an insightful interview with a frontline social worker in the wake of the Sarah Sheriff tragedy.
Can I ask you, let's take it as it were fictitious case. You are alerted to a child who might be in danger in a particular household. What are your powers? What can you actually do? And what are the difficulties you face when you first knock on the door or make the call?
Sure. So initially, when we social workers are alerted to a safeguarding issue where a child has experienced significant harm, we do have a duty to explore and investigate depending on the information, and we do that collaboratively with the police for the most part. As a social worker, we don't have much power. A lot of people think that we do hold all the power and the weight of making that decision when it's as to whether a child is removed immediately. However, we don't, and we do rely on the police to work collaboratively with us in identifying if there is a crime that has been committed. And then the police have the initial powers where they can safeguard a child for the first 72 hours. We then do a bit of an investigation, collect some information, and present that to the court. And
thank you. I recognise that person. And the winner is Daniel Hewitt from ITV News. Great, so now we move on to the specialist trade press, without whom we really couldn't get the stories of social work out, so thank you to all of those in our social work and social care trade press. They do a great job keeping our sector informed. The finalists in the trade press category are Hannah Crown from Children and Young People Now for an in-depth look at making leadership within children's services more diverse. Mithran Samuel from Community Care for an article examining why social workers at a London council went on strike. And Lauren Nicol, Learning Disability Today, for an article about the impact on parents accused of fabricated or induced illness. And the winner is Hannah Crown from Children and Young People Now. And I believe her editor, Darren Hayes, is attending and collecting on Hannah's behalf. Thank you. Thank you very much for coming on Hannah's behalf, and I'm sure she'll be delighted. And the next category is the lived experience category, which features the lived experience of people who use social services, and the finalists are Anna Collinson and Claire Kendall, BBC News, for a piece on social workers needing training to tackle coercive abuse. Tamsin Melville, a second nomination for Tamsin Melville from BBC South West, who is also nominated in the regional broadcast category for her spotlight on a project supporting survivors of domestic abuse in Cornwall.
There's a DASA in each of 9 teams across Cornwall, and they offer both practical and emotional help in many forms to suit each family's unique needs. Employed by charity First Light and commissioned by the council, there's a focus on stopping the cycle of abuse and acting quickly.
It's very much about breaking the cycle and what's going on in that family. So if you've been brought up in a family and there's been abuse, that's normal for you, and it's about us making sure that that doesn't continue. It's about, okay, so what are some healthy ways to deal with what's going on there? Is it communication? Is it about education? Is it about us saying, you know, do we know what domestic abuse is? Do we know what gaslighting is? And explaining those things.
We can go out with the family DASA within a matter of 48 hours, and we know how effective that is in terms of response to families, because it builds that engagement, which is crucial to making changes for children.
Anybody who is struggling or is like me didn't feel that they deserve the help, or, you know, because that is a big thing. You don't feel like you deserve the help because you are an adult, you put yourself in that situation. I highly recommend taking that help. Yeah, with the help that they're getting and the help that I've got, I know which way is forward. I'm not going back.
Hannah, bravely speaking out there to help others.
And our third finalist is Ashley John Baptiste for Radio 4's File on 4 for an investigation looking at the growing use of deprivation of liberty orders on vulnerable children in crisis.
BBC Sounds, music, radio, podcasts.
Hello Zara, you are looking very glamorous, I have to say.
This is Zara. She's bubbly, spirited, and like many young women her age, she's well versed on Instagram. She'd even seen my daughter's costume for World Book Day.
So all the girls, like, you know, most of the girls go as princesses, and she just walks up as a caterpillar. It's the cutest thing.
This is unique, isn't it?
It's actually adorable when she's the one that she does it for.
But Zara's life has not been easy. She ended up in care before starting school.
I believe I was 4 and my mother was too young to look after me. She couldn't look after me and my brother, not having no food. I just remember being hungry, a lot of fighting, a lot of noise. It was not nice.
Zara would move from foster home to foster home for over a decade. We've seen her local authority records, which detail a catalogue of concerns about her welfare.
When you're out on the street and you're vulnerable and you're young and older men see that, they'll try to groom you or make you feel like you're wanted. For instance, I just felt like I could depend on them. I just felt like I was getting groomed and I was getting groomed.
Was that groomed for sexual exploitation as well?
Yeah, definitely. I was definitely getting sexually exploited.
In an attempt to keep her sane.
So, for the second year running in this category, judges were, it says split in their decisions. It's not quite the case. It was just so hard. And so once again, we've decided to give 2 awards. The winners are Tamsin Melville, BBC South West, and Ashley John Baptiste, the Fire Long Corps. And we'll start with Ashley John Baptiste, who is here in person. Many of you will know him as doing sterling work supporting the Social Worker of the Year Awards every year in England. And you'll know him for lots of other things as well. So very delighted. Yeah. Wonderful. And I think we have a film from Tamsin Melville as her acceptance.
Hi, I'm Tamsin from BBC Spotlight, BBC South West, and I'd just like to say thank you so much for this award tonight. I'm really honoured, and I'm sorry that I can't be there. But the main thing I want to say really is that it was such a privilege to meet Hannah and be able to tell her story, and speak to all the people at the First Light charity and the Cornwall Council and the social work department for all the brilliant work they're doing to help people. That's really, as a journalist, what we want to do is to shine the light on issues and to tell people stories, and hopefully that's what this has done. So really this award is for Hannah and all the people involved in that project. So thank you very much again. I'm very honoured. Sorry I can't be there. I hope everyone has a great night.
Very nice. So we're moving on now to the drama category, recognising when social work issues are portrayed fairly and accurately within a dramatic and fictionalised context. And the finalists are Adolescence, Netflix, for its devastating examination of the impact of toxic masculinity on a teenager and his family. Second finalist is Lost Boys and Fairies, for its moving and heartwarming depiction of a gay couple's journey to adoption. And I think we've got a clip for that. Yeah, great.
So boys, tell me, why do you want to adopt?
Well, we've been talking about it for a while now, haven't we, kid? And we're really solid. Been together 8 years now, so it feels like the natural next step, doesn't it?
I'm sensing you're looking nervous, Gabriel.
I'm not nervous.
That's honestly, all going fine. Are you married?
No.
Not that it's a problem.
Gabriel thinks it's heteronormative. He thinks it's what straight couples do when they run out of things to say.
Will you take paternity leave then?
We're going to split it, so I'm going to take 9 months and Gabriel's going to take 3. I thought we were just taking 1. No, 3. And we're going to feel it.
What's that?
Boys in the trouble.
I hear you're a drag queen.
I'm not a drag queen.
What are you then?
He's wonderful. You know, people come from miles to see him. Oh, you should hear him sing at Neverland.
Done. Do you mind if I have a quick look around the house? I just want to check in on serial killers or something. Well, why did you invite her to Neverland?
She might be into love.
I wouldn't like to say. We've only just met. Cultural parenting. Watch what you say. You never know who's listening.
And the third finalist, I was getting a bit carried away there and watching that. Third finalist is Joan on ITV for its portrayal of real-life diamond thief Joan Hannington and a depiction of foster care and domestic abuse. And again, I think we just have an image there. So, and the winner is Lost Boys and Fairies. Now, we don't have... I mean, it's another gig for Shahid, who's going to be the custodian of that and deliver it to the producers. So, there we go. And our final category is for podcasts, a media platform that's growing in strength and some great content for social workers, some of it created in this very organisation, and by many others and many other fantastic podcasts. And we have 3 nominees for that. So the first is Pod Save the UK by Nish Kumar and Coca Khan for an interview with care experienced activists Rebecca Pierre and Lem Cisse.
Welcome, Rebecca. Thank you. It's honestly such a pleasure to be here, and just thank you for spotlighting this issue. It's just so, as you know, glossed over, and everyone from, Parliament to the press looks the other way, and so it means a lot to have this space.
And is that the impulse of putting the book together, presumably, to try and get it foregrounded like this?
It is. Well, to be real with you, it was never my idea. As these things are, I wrote an article for The Guardian a couple of years ago about care. And an editor got in touch and said, hey, would you like to write about it, put an anthology together? And between us, my response was absolutely not. Because in my mind, an anthology was a limited selection, and I could not get my head around the concept of rejecting, people coming with their stories from care, because that is, a community where there's so much rejection. So it's the first mainstream anthology known really to have a no rejection policy. So we've got 100 stories from people aged 13 to 68, and I'm just so happy. We've got the brilliant Lem part of it as well.
And I'm really honoured to be in this book as somebody who was in care myself. But also, this idea of having a no rejection policy, it makes one think, could the quality not work?
Yeah,
but actually it does, it really does. This book it's a beautiful testament to the true experiences of young people who are in institutions and in foster care around the country.
You've taken sort of great care to platform the voices of care leaders themselves. What does that bring to the conversation, and how do you guys hope that will inspire change?
Well, from my personal experience, care leavers are often written about, but very rarely with. So I know both of us have accessed our care files, and I requested mine 2 summers ago, and honestly, I think to see myself written about, and I'm a social worker too, so I know how hard it is to write case notes with so little respect, and accuracy was really hard. So this is about flipping the narrative and say, hey, hang on, we're not just protagonists, we can be the authors of our own narrative as well. So it's about breaking stereotypes, educating and informing the public who we are and what we're about.
It is a horrible facet of our media that
this is not the only subject where you see people talking about a group of people and you never...
Okay, thank you. And the third finalist is the Relational Social Work Podcast by Matt Clayton and Hannah Bedford for an episode entitled What Role Does Children's Services Have in a Tumultuous World?
Hold up, we get you there. Go for it.
It can often feel like can feel quite overwhelmed by the systems that you operate in because they feel so large and immovable and unchangeable. But one of the things I really think for children that we work with is that your intention really matters. That you care about them, that they mean something to you, and maybe that means that you feel like they feel like you love them in an entirely appropriate way. And sometimes I feel like that's more important than any kind of service that you might be able to provide them or their family. And then as an extension of that, if you're really committed to that kind of endeavour or that ethos, you'll begin to see how important it is to include the family and the wider family as a resource to that child, because you'll see the importance of who they love, who they value, who's important, who's able to look after them. And that's why I think family group conferences, lifelong links, are some of the most invaluable resources that we have at our disposal as social workers, and also as Tim.
Okay, thank you. And actually, I missed the third one, which is Social Work Matters by Dr. Sylvia Smith for an episode entitled Let's Talk About Burnout.
Which I no longer get, thank God, but being able to acknowledge actually what are the triggers here? What is the emotions I'm storing in my body that I haven't been able to or have the space to really process and begin to release?
Yeah, I mean, that's really interesting because firstly, many of us, well, my whole thing when I joined social work, I want to help people. But what you get as a byproduct, isn't it, that you learn a lot about yourself and your own life and your own trajectory and so on. So I absolutely resonate with that. And I think, you know, as you progress in the career, you begin to learn more and more about yourself. And you're also sharing that, you know, you could see some kind of parallels with your own personal life. But it's interesting that, you know, the stress of the work and the complexity of the work showed itself up in your body.
Okay, thank you. And the winner is Pod Save the UK by Nush Kumar and Coco Khan. Now, they're not able to collect the award. And so Maggie's collecting it for them. But this is a special announcement, so don't go anyway. Thank you, Maggie, for taking the award. This was a really difficult discussion. I was in it, and I know it was a really hard choice to make. And I believe that we have Relational Social Work Podcast and Sylvia Smith here, and I would like everybody involved with those podcasts to come up for a special mention, because it was really, really difficult to choose. So please do come up. They were both excellent, different qualities for different things, apples and pears. So please come along, have your picture taken, and thank you very much. Thank you so much. Thank you for all your podcasting. Keep going. So those are all our main awards, but we have a special contribution to social work journalism award. We do like to give special awards each year to someone in the media who's contributed to the understanding of social work and the work we do. This year we're presenting a posthumous award to Sarah Nelson and to her family, who sadly passed away earlier this year. But before giving this award, I would like to invite Ruth Stark onto the stage to say a bit about Sarah's legacy. Ruth. Well done.
Well, for those of you who don't know who I am, I've been around social work for about 45 plus years. And so, and I used to manage BASW in Scotland for about 15 years. And I've also done I've been the global president for the International Federation of Social Workers. And when I first moved back to Scotland in 1976, after going there originally in 71, at the onset of the children's hearing system and the implementation of the Kilbrandon report, which revolutionized social work, I became very involved as an active member in BASW Scotland, I think probably for all of those years since then. So I'm really pleased to be invited to say a few words about one of the journalists who I have worked with throughout that time. And I'm just going to start by saying we didn't have these. We didn't have podcasts. We didn't have many of the things that we have learned to use to communicate with each other in the way that we do now. I'm delighted we've got all of this, but sometimes it's good to kind of reflect back and think a little bit about where did we start from and what have we achieved, because we move now at such a fast pace as we saw, as we were watching all of those clips. So this gives us an opportunity to kind of reflect a bit about somebody's lifetime contribution to explaining what social work is about to people outside of the profession, and also, as a journalist, to challenge us, to reflect back to us what we don't do well. And I think that over the years that I have worked with journalists and the media and found myself, at the receiving end of Jeremy Paxman on Newsnight and things like that, I've learnt that we have to be bold in what we are saying, calm, reasoned, and actually relating to the people outside of our little world in a way that is really, really important. So I'm going to start with when I first met Sarah. It was back in 1980, and I have here a photograph, a photocopy of an article she wrote for The Scotsman. Oh, I forgot to mention that actually in those days, back in the 70s and 80s, we relied on newspapers. Isn't it wonderful that we're here in the home of the Manchester Guardian? That was such an influential paper on the development and the promoting of social work throughout the UK. But if you lived in Scotland, where the home of journalism, along with Jute and Jam, is in Dundee, you will understand that there were 3 newspapers that we read. If you would have done the West, you read the Herald. If you lived in the South East, you read the Scotsman. And of course, we had the Aberdeen Press and Journal up north. And so on your way to work, you would pick up a newspaper and you might read it on the bus. And it was quite a different way of working and communicating and so on. So in 1980, on the way to work on the bus, reading The Scotsman, there was an article written by Sarah Nelson. And Sarah had been, unbeknown to me, a young journalist sitting in a social work forum that had been arranged for practitioners to get together and talk over lunch about something that was of concern to us. And in this case, it was about should newly qualified advocates, and that, by this I mean in the Scottish term barristers, be doing divorce court welfare reports. And we had taken as a view in the BASW that this was not appropriate. People who shouldn't be writing welfare reports on children who actually have legal qualifications and weren't really looking at the best interests of children. When I got to work, the director had already been on the phone. I was to phone back immediately. And he said, "This could cost you your job." "Thank you, Sarah. This could cost me my job." Fortunately, because we had actually got such a good journalist, she had said that I had been speaking in a personal capacity. And I have to say, I found that Sarah, throughout the 45 years that we worked together, had such integrity. And it was so important in building a relationship about what this was about. It gave us a platform to start talking about family conciliation services. Let's do something rather different. Julia Ross was the first coordinator of the Family Conciliation Service in Edinburgh. All of that work to co-build changes in the way that we did things and the way that we do things came from the cooperation that we had with each other. Sarah as a journalist, myself as a social worker, working with other social workers, working with lawyers, working with the courts to get some changes that happened. That is the value of working with journalists. We all have skills that are really, really important to us. But I want to go on and say that Sarah went on and had another life after she withdrew a bit from journalism. And I think the changing for her in terms of her direction of travel came with the Orkney inquiry. Now, there may be some people in this room who will have been involved day in, day out, as I was at the time, with what was happening during the Orkney inquiry, how it nearly cost BASW a huge amount of money, and for which we came out supporting our colleagues in a way that was really important to do. And as part of that process, Sarah would be in the BASW office in Scotland talking with us about what it is that social workers did, what it was. She also had access to the young people as a journalist who were telling her about what we got wrong. And that kind of debate was absolutely essential to what has subsequently happened in both her life and my life when we went back to do research on sexual abuse within the family. She did it at Edinburgh University, I did some at Stirling University. This is about co-building, co-designing change and working with other people to get that change to happen. That is why journalism, the media, is so important, and why I'm really delighted that we can today honour Sarah for her contribution to what she helped us do in terms of developing new ways of doing things, more inclusive ways of doing things, more just ways of doing things. But she really did nearly get me sacked. So I really... And we've had a lifetime since then. She's had children and grandchildren. I've had children and grandchildren. I just want to ask a quick question. How many people in this room are under the age of 28? Yeah, come on, guys, come on. When this was published, and I faced the dismissal, and Sarah was going off onto her, lauded by the Scotsman for her wonderful journalism, we were both 28 years old. I was 4 years qualified. I think what I would really like to see everyone in this room is encourage young social workers to get involved, talking with the media, learning how to talk with the media, learning how to share, learning how to co-build, because it's our communities that we work in, and it's our communities that we can actually get results for. It was very fitting that Sarah finished her days in Dundee, Jam, Jute, and journalism. She had a life outside of all of this work stuff. She used to bag Munros. You know what bagging Munros is? Yes, good. We used to go to things like the directors' conferences together. So I would be going from BASW, and they would be going from the journalism side of things. We were probably the few females in the room, and the directors, because this was in the days when we had, I think, 9 directors across Scotland, were all men. And we used to plot and we used to do it. But one thing we always did, and you reminded me of this, Ruth, was we always shared a bottle of wine. I think this helped her in later life go on to learn to play the fiddle in a fiddle orchestra. Sarah was full of beans. She had lots of time for everyone. She listened, she thought, she challenged. She was a great, great person to work with. So I'm going to say, Slange, Sarah, thank you for everything that you have done for us. Yes. It's unfortunate that Rowan, her daughter, cannot be here today to collect the award. But she has written something which I hope reflects something of what I've told you a little bit about Sarah and the way that she worked. So this is from Rowan, who I've known since she was a baby. She's now the mother of a 6-year-old son, and this is from her. Hello, everyone. I'm devastated that I cannot be there tonight to collect this award for my amazing mum and celebrate her achievements in person. But I hope my words can do her justice. My mum was an incredible woman who worked harder than anyone else I know. I think I would agree with that as well. Her work meant the world to her. It wasn't just a job. It was so much more than that. When I found out that my mum would be receiving the award, I started to cry. But this time, it was happy tears. The amount of pride that filled my body was indescribable. I just hope she knew how proud I was and how much she was appreciated by so many people for the hard work she dedicated herself to. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Would you like to take the award with a photo? That would be nice.
Yes, I'll do that. I'll just do that.
Yeah. Ruth, thank you very much. Most of us here probably didn't know Sarah directly, but that was a really strong picture painted of the impact and of that important partnership between social work and the media that can really make a difference and can bring about change, change in policy, change in society. So we are at the end of our awards. We have just asked Ashley if he wouldn't mind coming and just saying a few words, because everybody knows he's a star, bit of a star. And I think it's lovely to have given you an award. And I think you can say something why it's important.
Oh, really?
Yeah, why don't you say something about
Hello.
why it's so important?
I thought you meant like a post-interview, like in the corner. But here we are. How you doing, guys? Shout out to yourselves for all the incredible work. No, come on, you can do better than that. Social workers. Wow, I really thought this was a post-interview, but it is an absolute privilege to be here. I'm thinking of Werner. Werner, if you at all heard that podcast that I won that joint award for, Werner is a veteran social worker, and she was supporting this young person called Zara who had spent time on a deprivation of liberty order. And I know I'm in a room where I don't need to explain what that is, which is a relief. And Werner was actually the foster mum the social worker for Werner's foster mum. And she met Zara when Zara was about 13, and she just went above and beyond in a way that speaks volumes. And it's just so palpable, the love and the care that she has for Zara. You can hear it in the podcast. But she is the best of humanity. Hello, by the way, with the glasses. I remember you from the Social Worker of the Year Awards, because I host that, which is crazy. Shout out to those awards. Well done, you. Sorry, I'm really not... I need to speak to the whole room. Werner, the social worker who supported Zara, reminds me of one of my social workers, because I am care experienced. I'm a BBC News reporter, and I do bits outside of news as well for the BBC, but an outcome like mine for a care experienced person is still all too rare. And I'm considered a success. And I think sort of outcomes like mine should be normal for people who are care experienced. They shouldn't be few and far between. I shouldn't be some sort of shining star. That actually saddens me for obvious reasons. But what I'm trying to say is that Werner, the social worker in my piece, reminded me of my social worker, Rosalind. I, at some point, decided that I wanted to go to Cambridge University. I wanted to apply and give myself a shot at that. Now, I had a string of exclusions, suspensions, and underachievement, but at the right time, things clicked, and I got good GCSEs, and I wanted to go to Cambridge. My foster family didn't take me to the open day. I asked them if they would take me on a Saturday, and for whatever reason, they decided to not do that. And I remember mentioning this to my social worker, and I wasn't presuming that she would at all step in and fill that gap. But without me asking, she was adamant that she was going to take me to the open day. If Rosalind, the social worker, who worked for Southwark Local Authority at the time, didn't take me to that open day, there is no way that I would have applied to Cambridge. And when she did that, she went from being a professional, in my eyes, to being like an auntie. And I don't think she understands the significance of what she did. But that one simple decision to go above and beyond and use her time off to support me means that I'm standing here today doing journalism for the BBC. I never knew at that point that I had it in me to be a national broadcaster, journalist, whatever you call it. Author as well. Shameless plug for my book, Looked After. But I appreciate, I mean, the entries here, you know, all the Daniel, my God, I'm a fan. You don't know me, but I am a fan. Everything you did with Quajo was amazing. But the point is that all these incredible journalists who've won awards, they articulate the plight that you face. They articulate the strain of resources, the pressures. I can't imagine it. But I think of Rosalind. I think about a social worker who was so prepared to just intervene in a very simple but powerful, palpable way. And I suppose I say all of that to say, and leave this thought, who can you be a Rosalind to? Big love, thanks for having me, bye.
Okay, I'm not going to try and top that. That was wonderful. Thank you so much, Ashley. And thank you for all that you do for social work. Thank you all here. Thank you for all our shortlisted finalists. Thank you for all the winners. Have a little bit more to drink and have a lovely evening. Thank you very much.